Welcome, everybody. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you tuned in from. We're live here in New York. This is Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center Gita podcast. I'm Dal Grunga here with Achyuta Gopi. How are you, Achyuta?
My soul's feeling a little bit blah, but I am
Just feeling a little bit
still walking in faith though.
walking in faith. Under the Shelter of Blessings. Was that the one this week? There it is. Under the Shelter of Blessings.
But I,
It's
I
okay.
also switch it up because
It's okay.
sometimes, even when you're
It's
under,
okay to be a little sometimes.
I mean,
Missed you at Kirtan the last couple weeks. You okay?
I, you know, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just it just is, you know?
These bodies, man, they do things.
These
You're not in
bodies,
control of
man.
things.
These bodies are bad bargain.
But the best bargain is that I know Krishna, so I'm good with that. I'm all right.
Doing
I'll
good
take
with
it.
that. Doing good with that.
Whatever it is, I'll take it.
Well, let's go ahead and connect with Krishna through Bhagavad Gita.
Let's do
We're
it.
in the first chapter. I guess we're about halfway through, a little over halfway through. Krishna has now driven Arjuna into the presence of both the armies in the middle of the battlefield. We've heard all the names of the warriors, or some of them, and we've got the context laid out for us a little bit. And Arjuna wants to take a moment to assess the scene, and he asks Krishna, his chariot driver, to take him to the middle of the army to see what's going on. And Krishna's like, "You know what's going on. You know who's here. You know all these people. This is what you expect. It's We're in a battle. This is who's here." And so Arjuna, seeing that and kind of having this moment of observation, he has a moment, and that's the moment we're about to step into.
And I feel like you should read it. You've been excited for this for like 2 weeks.
I've been excited for this for 2 weeks. When did I say I was excited for this?
You were saying that this is the part that you really really liked.
Oh yeah, I was like, can we skip ahead to that part? And you're like, no, Dial, we're gonna read the verses leading up to it. So can we please skip ahead? Okay. I like it so much because I feel like um I feel like it's so much, the Gita is known as an ancient text of wisdom, and there's so much philosophy and knowledge of the soul, and about karma, and about living in this world, and identity, and higher reality, and higher purpose, and enlightened action, and living from a place of spiritual awareness, and all of those things. But I think it's all set up by the how how prepped are we to receive all of that, and how life is designed to bring us to a point where we are ready to receive spiritual knowledge. And unless we're actually ready to receive, whatever we're given won't stick. And so the first chapter of the Gita is it's because, I mean, it's interesting the way the Gita is described. The Gita could just start with, partway through chapter 2 and just get right into it, but it takes an entire chapter. I'm not just giving us a context of the battle, but sort of describing um, what it's like to really step into the mood of a receiver, and to allow life to um, hmm, how we can take life obstacles and challenge and turn them into opportunities for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Um, and so, just like this morning, we were talking about, oh, life is like blah. It's like it's allowing that to happen in a way that makes us question deeper about life.
So funny, when you were talking about that, and I was thinking about the prayers of Queen Kunti, of course, and
Hmm.
Arjuna's own mother says that one can understand Krishna when they become materially exhausted, right? When they have nothing else.
Yeah.
And so like my soul's a little bit wah wah was a little bit of a it's one of those surface kind of answers. It's like, how you feeling? Fine. And actually the real deep answer is, it's like, how are you feeling? And the first thing I thought but didn't say was, I was like, my soul feels exhausted and really tired.
Mm,
And so then when you're talking about it, I was like, actually, and that's the perfect position to walk
mm,
in faith, because even Queen Kunti knows that at a certain point you've got to just be tired of this place
mm.
before you start thinking that this will come in and help, or I'll do
Yeah.
this and this will help, or I'll make this contingency plan and that will help. And
Mm.
once you get completely materially exhausted is when you turn and eventually, like Arjuna, you say, okay, Krishna, you do your thing. I'm really tired. I'm gonna just rest over here. You do your thing, and you move me like a little chess piece. And
Mm.
once we stop that resistance, that is actually, surrender. It's like, if you ever, do you have siblings still?
I have a brother and a sister.
You ever get into those things where you're like play wrestling and you really shouldn't be play wrestling, and then it's fun like, don't fight it, stop fighting, and you just like go limp really fun.
My sister used to beat me up.
See, yeah. So sometimes the best way to get out of it is to stop fighting.
Mm,
And so I feel like this is the crux of this moment that's coming up for Arjuna. It's like the best way to get out of it is to stop fighting. Go limp.
mm, mm. Yeah. I was just looking up that verse you were quoting from Queen Kunti in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. My lord, you can be easily approached, um, but only those who are materially exhausted. Tvam akinchana gocharam. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve themselves with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty. Which, by the way, Arjuna had all of the above. Check, 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 check. Respectable parentage. So much of how Arjuna is referred to in the Gita is, O son of Pritha, O son of Kunti, best of the Bharatas. So much is alluding to his elevated family. They're like the Kennedys of spiritual life. They're just like, they're up there
Yeah.
in terms of material. I mean, but also spiritual. I mean, the Kennedys can't speak to their spiritual, but just like that sense of just like what society would deem an elevated family. And then great opulence, was a prince, great
Conqueror.
wealth, high education, extraordinarily learned, and bodily beauty. I've never seen a picture, but I heard he was a very handsome man. Cannot approach you with sincere feeling.
I've seen those.
Um,
I mean, some of them are not done right, but I've seen them. Did you know he and Krishna were the same color?
hmm. And so cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So it's kind of like, there's that quote from the Bible where Jesus mentioned it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And some scholars or historians mention how the eye of the needle is the actual gateway into Jerusalem. It's a physical gateway, and that for a camel to pass through that eye of the needle, you have to get off, and all the bags, all the luggage, all the excess stuff has to be, the saddle, everything has to be taken off. And the camel has to crouch down real low and kind of shimmy its way through. And so this idea of like, what do I need to shed in order to fit through the gateway that is nothing else but just me? Like, what are all of the things that I'm holding on to? And it's what Arjuna's really coming up against here. Srila Prabhupada would use this term fallible soldiers. He's coming up against the limitations of material achievement and success. All of my learning, all of my, family heritage, all of my wealth and opulence. And, even later he said, I don't see how, even if we win a kingdom, like sovereignty in the heavens will grant me any solace. His greatest thinking can't get him out of it. All of that, he's realizing the limitations of it to take him to the next step.
It's like worse still when you have to use all of your greatest achievements in life that you've worked so hard for,
Mm,
and then you have to use them to look other people in the face and end their lives. It's like, even more than it won't save me, it's almost like I now have to use this and do what everybody would consider the wrong thing.
Hmm.
It's like, how do you settle that cognitive dissonance where you've worked your entire life to be righteous and you've worked your entire existence for this reputation, and now you have to do something that will forever change that reputation, and you feel as though for the rest of time people are going to look at you like a monster. People are going to look at you and be like, "Oh yeah, that's Arjuna, wielder of the great Gandiva bow, who killed my father, uncle, brother, son, nephew, all of the above." So before, when you were looked at as one of the most handsome men on the entire planet, you had all the wealth, all the learning, Krishna's own cousin. Now you are going to be looked at as a killer of families.
That's
Such
heavy.
heavy stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to go with that, but that's heavy.
It is, isn't it? It's like, what do you do at that point? We all have to, like Arjuna did, and turn to Krishna and be like, this really what you want? Like, this is what you wanted for me? And I think it's really an important question for us, because what happens when we come up against things that look like, well, my spiritual life was here, and then my material life is here, and what does that mean? Because we have
Mm.
an idea of what our spiritual lives should look like, often based on what other people have told us. What happens when it doesn't look that way? What happens when it looks like it goes against your spiritual life? How do you balance out that cognitive dissonance?
Mm. It's a good question. Should we get into the verses?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, you have to read.
You want me to read these verses? I'm
Yeah,
the one reading? Okay, here we
yeah,
go. Where do we leave off? Verse 27?
uh, yeah. I mean, we already kind of talked about verse 27, his compassion being triggered, so we can do 28.
Got it. Verse 28. Arjuna said, so Arjuna is now speaking to Krishna. My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon.
Yeah, I once looked up the symptoms of an anxiety attack, and those are actually all the symptoms.
Mm,
I was like, yeah, he's legit having a bit of a breakdown. He's having an actual, like, anxiety
mm,
attack.
yeah.
And with it comes, it's like feelings of doom, or feelings like your life is going to end. And he's like, I can't go on anymore. This is going to be the end of my life. I don't see
Mm,
how this is going to in any way come out to be
yeah.
good. And it's so interesting how coming up against resistance from family and loved ones, the people that know you, can produce such a reaction. If anybody's
Mm,
ever come up, like if you've had this idea of even coming up against such incredible resistance from family members, it can feel so daunting. And so many people have spoken to me in terms of their Krishna consciousness with this. Like, it's like, well, what do I do? And then the family comes up. It's like, couldn't you just not be? Like, couldn't you just do anything else? It's like this big idea of being a disappointment in their eyes, looking at this fighting spirit from our family members and how much it can really do a number on us.
mm,
And so I've always thought that it's a great sense of comfort to know that these are natural reactions, wanting to please our family members, wanting to sometimes even bend over backwards to please them.
Mm.
And Krishna saying, but bro, this might not be best for you. And Arjuna kind of doesn't care. He's like, I don't care what's best for me. Like maybe if it's best for the greater good, for the collective, then it's fine. And Krishna's like, no. But if it's good for the collective and you forget your own soul, it's not great. So I really appreciate how Krishna doesn't just tell us to self-sacrifice everything. He is constantly reminding us that we need to examine how this self-sacrificing tendency is going.
Mm. Looking at the verse here. Um, I'm also taking away how important it is to pay attention to what's going on with us at any given moment. So, Arjuna's hitting this bottom, so to speak, having his anxiety, um, and he's sort of taking it head on. He's not ignoring it. He can't ignore it anymore, you know? And I think that for us to be able to acknowledge, you know, to be aware when something's not working and to acknowledge how we're feeling and to respond to that accordingly.
Yeah.
So it's all coming up. He goes on and says, I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudan, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers in laws, grandsons, brothers in law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I'm not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
What I love is the purport of that one and how Srila Prabhupada
Mm.
speaks about the name Madhusudan. And he's the killer of the Madhu
Madhusudan.
demon. But
Mm.
in this case, Arjuna is asking him, like, the doubts that are running rampant through my mind are no less than that demon. They
Mm.
are ripping me to shreds. And oh Krishna,
Mm.
killer of the Madhu demon, you can dispel, and you're the only one that can dispel all
Mm.
of these doubts that are running through my mind. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I've looked toward those doubts as different entities. Like, what if they were just horrible, booger green demons? And it starts to help me take a different perspective on those doubts. Like, wait a second, like in the Wizard of Oz, when the Good Witch is like, "Be gone! You have no power here."
Mm.
And
Be gone.
and so that's how I wind up. That's how I wind up feeling like, oh Krishna, these doubts, and they're just tiny demons. They're nothing that big for you. You can do this.
Mm. I think that yeah, I love that. I love the idea of looking at our doubts and um separating them from ourselves in a little way and kind of like, I mean, there's this three-part triad. There's Arjuna, there's his doubts and his fears and his anxieties, and then there's Krishna. And it's kind of like Arjuna's positioning himself like, Krishna, can you stand alongside me and face these doubts and anxieties and and troubles that I'm experiencing, rather than identifying with them and thinking like this is me so much of the times. Can I recognize, like, can I invite Krishna in, stand side by side, and face these doubts or these anxieties or whatever is going on in my life, and approach it in that way. And so it's kind of like I'm just seeing that separation between those demons inside of us and creating that separation.
Yeah, and not only that, there's a really cool story at the end of Krishna book and towards the end of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a Brahmin who loses his children. He's really upset. And he's going and he's kind of really like shouting angrily and blaspheming
Mm,
Krishna and Balaram because he lives in Dwarka. And he's saying no one could protect my children. Like the children were born and they died shortly after childbirth. And in
mm,
Vedic times, the king was responsible for that. Like imagine, like,
mm,
I mean, at least if you're gonna create laws on the children, then you should be like you're held responsible for infant mortality rates in Vedic times, even if you had nothing to do with it. Amazing. So the amount of responsibility that was taken on by kings at that time was incredibly great. But so this Brahmin was really upset, was really just blaspheming Krishna and Balaram. They're useless, all of these things. And Arjuna comes and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I can protect your children. I'm not Krishna or Balaram or either. And so at that point, like, you look at it, and Arjuna's bravado is kind of putting him on this other side. And Arjuna winds up getting himself into a position where he cannot protect the children, and the next child dies, and so he's kind of like prepared to throw himself into a fire. Arjuna does that a lot. He makes that promise a lot. Like everybody's like, oh, that's really harsh. Arjuna really makes his promise a lot. And at that point, Krishna stops him. He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I said I would jump into the fire if I couldn't save the children. I can't save the children, so I can't do anything. It's not going to work. And one line always stuck out to me. And Krishna says, don't worry. He says, come with me. And the same people who are maligning us will soon reestablish our spotless fame. And this idea of not just I'm going to position myself beside Krishna, but Krishna reciprocatively is positioning himself beside us at all times, putting himself in the position with us. Krishna didn't have to say we. Like at that point, it was just Arjuna. And Arjuna had previously been like, I'm not Krishna or Balaram or their sons or their grandsons. I can do whatever I want. I'm going to do the things. And Krishna didn't care. He says, don't worry. Because the same people who are maligning us will soon reestablish our spotless fame. And so even before we have realigned ourselves with Krishna, Krishna's already lining himself, standing right there, saying, don't worry, just come with me and I'll make everything better for us. And that was always such a great sense of comfort that even when I'm being a brat, Krishna's already standing beside me and realigning himself with me.
mm. Beautiful. I love that also in the idea of those two. I think it was yesterday, or you brought in the idea of the story of Draupadi, or sometime this week, the story of
Yeah.
Draupadi, of completely surrendering and letting go of any, just completely letting go, like being accosted, being in danger, being in a threatening situation, and completely letting go, and that last letting go, inviting Krishna in to fully come and protect her. And so we talked earlier in today's conversation about this kind of hitting rock bottom, this sort of coming to this place of putting ourselves in Arjuna's shoes so that we can receive, and that prayer of Queen Kunti of Twamakinchara Gocharam, of like being the Lord being very accessible to those who are materially exhausted. And it's kind of like this simultaneous, like us hitting bottom and like creating space and invitation for Krishna to step in and be alongside us, you know? And so it's like sometimes we're waiting for like, and this idea that we have of surrender is not just like this like submission move of like beating into submission, but it's
Mm.
more of like create the space for Krishna to come in and stand right next to you. And so I kind of like you're seeing both of that happening side by side, and it's kind of like, and it won't be until the beginning. It's like our Arjuna is going through his whole this anxiety attack as you described, and it's not to the beginning of the next chapter where he really recognizes like, not only am I struggling, but I also want to create space for you, Krishna, to come in and take the wheel.
What's even more amazing is when we think about creating that space. I heard heard a story yesterday. My sister was saying she was reading. There's a pastime, and Krishna's mother Yashoda, is looking for Krishna, and she asks someone, "Oh, where's Krishna? Is he by the cows?" "Oh, no, no, I didn't see him, but he's. I'm sure he must be around somewhere." And they look, "Oh, is he by this lake?" "Oh, no, no, he's not there, but I'm sure he must be somewhere." And the more people she asks, the more places she realizes that Krishna is not. And then at a certain point, everybody starts to get worried. "Oh no, well, where's Krishna? What's happening?" And they start to get worried. And then everybody gets really upset. And, "Oh no, where's Krishna? Krishna's gone. Where did he go? We can't find him." And then from behind a door, Krishna jumps out and says, "Here I am." And then everybody's really happy and they're happy to see Krishna. But this is exactly what's happening. We're thinking, even still, okay, I'm making room for Krishna to stand beside me. And the minute we do that, Krishna pops out. He's like, "I've always been here." He's always been there. Even more than that, we are now like uncovering the ability to see that Krishna has been standing beside us all along. You are muted.
So muted. There's a lot of beautiful things going on in the chat over here. Most
Yeah.
recent one, Dana said, I heard it said once, make the decision to surrender and create space, then things will shift. Do it in Sri Krishna's magic, the resources follow the decision. Hare Krishna. Beautiful, beautiful stuff, guys. Thank you so much. Kimberly, what kind of takeaways you got for us today? Is Kimberly here? There she is. Yeah, she's here.
Today we're taking away to learn to take our life challenges as opportunities for spiritual growth, and that Krishna is always by our sides, and we can invite him in when we face the anxieties in our lives.
I love that last one. What are you walking away with, Ashita?
That I kind of, however I'm feeling today, I don't want to miss the opportunity that I'm in the most perfect position to surrender and to see Krishna today.
That's a beautiful one. I'm in the most perfect position. Yeah. I'm taking away that things aren't meant to go the way I think they're meant to go. Things are meant to go the way they need to go in order for me to deepen my surrender. And so that's what I'm walking away with. Thank you guys so much for being here, for being with us. We love you all so much. Today's Friday, so we're taking the weekend off. We'll be back on Monday, and we'll see you on the other side of the week. Take care, everybody. Be well. Bye bye.